seed needs to win the Pac-12 tournament. Let's talk about some of the teams. There's 3 teams, in my opinion, that they're going to have to go through, maybe 4. We're going to preview them now. Let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats. Again, I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, the teams you need to know and Arizona, when it comes to winning the Pac-12 tournament. Let's start with UCLA. Now, I've always felt that Arizona matches up actually very well with UCLA. The problem, though, that we encounter, though, is that, again, when you're at Pauley, the crowd gets going. And again, at McHale, I think on a neutral court, these teams are probably pretty even. Now, that doesn't mean I think the UCLA is actually probably a little bit more equipped to go far in the tournament until that injury occurred to Jalen Clark right there. But there is a lot, though, to look at here. Arizona, though, there's a few different things right here that you got. Azuolas Tubelis played very well against UCLA. Super proud of the big man right there. But also, but UCLA, though, I think has just a couple more dogs in it that I think they have 2 stars at this point. I think Jalen Clark was a star, but doesn't seem like he's going to probably be playing. Tiger Campbell, though, is a problem for Arizona. Not necessarily even stats. You just watch him right there. And you can tell that, like I said, I got beat up a little bit. I don't care. He's got a little bit of that Mike Bibby going for him right there. And that he's a pretty good, he can control the game in a way, in a score that nobody really, many people can't do. He can get 12-4 and he just controlled the game in a different way. Mike Bibby was able to do the same exact thing right there. All right. Now, I think what's fascinating, though, about UCLA, though, is now you don't have Jalen Clark. That's a massive, massive loss because, again, he's your jack-of-all-trades defender. And on top of that, he can score. He can do basically everything. I mean, if there's anything called a star role player, he's that. But I'm not going to minimize him to that. He is a star. I think right now Arizona matches up really well with UCLA, and I think that they would beat UCLA, to be honest with you. And again, that's a big, that's more of a testament to Jalen Clark because he's been absolutely fantastic. Then after that, USC. USC is, I like Andy Enfield a great deal. Anybody that knows me knows that I like Andy Enfield a great deal. But against Arizona and against Tommy Lloyd, he always appears a little outclassed. Because Tommy Lloyd, again, Arizona's not super talented, but they are talented. And when you give Tommy Lloyd the same kind of or the same talent to a certain degree that you've got with the University of Arizona, with an opponent, he's probably going to find out a way to win that game. That's just kind of how he is. That's how the Tommy Gun's been able to do things over the years. So again, but USC, though, you got Boogie Ellis, you got Drew Peterson. Arizona does a great job of stopping Drew Peterson. And with UCLA, with USC, Boogie Ellis is always going to be a little bit of an issue, but you hope to wear him down and that he just doesn't get going like that. All right. Now, there's some other things, though, to talk about right here. With USC, though, you got a lot of talent. You got a lot of length right there. But I don't worry about that as much because Azuolas Tubelis ate them alive. And when Azuolas Tubelis is playing really well, Arizona is a big-time force. And against USC, I think he is a big-time force. All right. Now, let me tell you about FanDuel. Now, you might say to yourself, Mike, what about FanDuel? Thanks for asking. You should go to FanDuel, and you could bet on the Pac-12 tournament. With FanDuel, that's where it's at, though, right there. You can get current odds, futures odds, promos, you name it, they got it. FanDuel.com/LockedOnCollege. Check it out right there. Pac-12 basketball is here. NBA is here. NBA playoffs right around the corner. Then you got baseball hopping in as well. There's a lot to really like here with FanDuel. Again, big time entity. Check it out, FanDuel. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with you. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, now with other team, ASU. ASU is incredibly poorly coached, and poorly coached. Just put it to you like that. But they do have a lot of length. They do have a lot of athleticism, and there's a lot. Again, you've got guys on there that can really play. The Cambridge boys, obviously, we know about them. You've got it, Frankie Collins. You got up front. You got Warren Washington. You got a lot of guys right there. You got a lot of length. You got a lot of athleticism right there. And that can cause some problems. I don't know why ASU doesn't press all game. I would press all game right there, or at least pressure all game, because they've got guys on the back end that can block shots, and they've got athletes. They've got perimeter players. So again, I think Arizona matches up very well with them, but I would actually give ASU a better chance of beating Arizona than USC even. Now, take that one for what it's worth, but I think that they pose more problems. Those are the three teams, and then there's one more team, Oregon. Oregon's already smashed Arizona once this year, and they've got pieces that can match up with Arizona. And Foley Dante up front is probably the best. No, he is. He's the best center in the Pac-12. And he goes into each game, and you kind of expect him to get 18 and 12. Now, when it comes to other players, though, that Will Richardson's good, but Will Richardson also is Will Richardson's not exactly tough. You're not going to watch any game with Will Richardson and say that you feel comfortable about him at the end of a game. You just don't really come across that with Will Richardson, and that's a little bit of the issue there with Will Richardson. But you got other dudes, though. You got you got your Jermaine Quiznards. You got your Nate Biddles. I like when they go big up front, because when they go big up front, I think it gives you some shot blocking, gives you a little bit of rebounding, gives you a lot of different things right there. Now, there's some other guys, though, too. Keyshawn Bartholomew, solid. Rivaldo Soares. But this comes down to me that N'Faly Dante against Arizona has to dominate the game. And if he dominates the game, then they have a chance. But those, to me, are the teams. Now, granted, I realize how stupid it sounds, because I'm not including Stanford or Washington State even, that beat Arizona at McHale. But that's because I don't care, because I don't think that they can really do that again. All right. Now, let's take a quick break and talk about projections. Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats. All right, I think Arizona is going to win the Pac-12 tournament. Pac-12 tournament right now is, I would have favored UCLA before the Jalen Clark injury, but now that Jalen Clark's out, now that Jalen Clark's out, I think that it's wide open right now, and not only wide open, I think Arizona's going to win the Pac-12 tournament. I do. And if they win the Pac-12 tournament, that locks up a number 2 seed out west. And that's a big thing for me, because if you win the Pac-12 tournament, Arizona fans travel. You got Sacramento, you got Las Vegas, but I think once Jalen Clark went out, that changed the entire equation for everybody out there, and I think that certainly changed the equation for Arizona. Now, I think with this team, what you're looking for, though, is just top to bottom. You need a Julius Tabellas to be able to dominate, and you need some secondary guy to be able to be that dude as well. And not only do you need that secondary dude to be that as well, who is going to be that guy? Now, Umar Ballo, you'd love it to be, but again, as we've talked about, he's pretty limited. Courtney Ramey, I like, but, he's kind of up or down. There's a lot of questions to ask. All right, a little bit of a shorter pod today as I'm traveling up to Las Vegas, but we will, on Thursday, be talking about Arizona. I will be up in Las Vegas as well. As always, you have a great rest of your day. You have been listening to Locked On Wild.